What is going on YouTube? Joe here with Color Nation Media, and welcome back for another episode of CM Strats. Today we're going to be staying in the OU tier to take a look at the Rotom Wash sets that you guys have probably seen me use quite a few times in the Battle Spot 6v6 series. Of course, those videos will be, or at least one of them will be linked down below so you can see this guy in action. But this was a very popular request. I know Durant was right up there as well, but this one got the most requests, so this is what I'm going to be doing this time around. I'm going to do Durant probably right after this one, so that'll be the next episode if you want to see that. Before we get too far into things today, I would just like to offer a friendly little reminder to you guys, if you haven't done so already, and you would like to show some support to the channel and the series and all that good stuff. Just a friendly reminder, it only takes a couple seconds to click that thumbs up button right below this video, or leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you have a suggestion for a Pokemon you would like to see featured in one of these Strats videos that I've already used, I mean, that's the key thing. Don't suggest things that I haven't used, because I wouldn't have a Strat prepared for them. If you've seen a Pokemon that I've used in one of my videos, you want to see a Strat for it, go ahead and put that in the comment section below, or you can tweet that at me on Twitter. Of course, my Twitter link is always in the description below, but I don't want to get into that because that's really not important at all. But I do want to say that you guys have been very supportive lately, and I want to make sure that I am, acknowledging that, because I don't want you to think that your support is going unnoticed. You guys are incredible with the way you show your supports in the likes, and even on Twitter, in the comment section, whatever it may be, you guys are always there to support me, so I just wanted to say thank you for that. And to try to give back, I'm going to try to continue to, look at your suggestions and try to apply them as much as possible, and we'll go from there. Now, taking a look at this Rotom Wash. This is a rest talking set, and the reason that I have a rest talking set is just because Rotom Wash is one of those Pokemon that I feel is just spammed all over the place in OU. It's like, especially once you get like to mid ladder and above that, it's like Rotom Wash is on every single team pretty much. It was, I guess, worse last gen, or at least it felt like it was worse last gen, but they're all over the place. They all use very similar sets, and it just seemed like anything that was not like really different, like a rest talking set, is just standard and boring to me. I don't know, that probably isn't, a legitimate thing, but that's just how I feel about it, so I decided to go outside the box and do a rest talking set. Now, I've seen these around, so some people use them. This is just my take on it. It is a physically defensive one. Bold nature, obviously, because bold is positive physical defense minus physical attack. Because you don't need physical attack on a Rotom Wash. I mean, he's not going to be slapping anybody around. He always just shoots stuff. So now for EVs, we have 252 in HP, 252 in physical defense. Obviously, that maximizes our physical bulk. As for the remaining 4, you can throw it in anywhere you want. Just because Rotom Wash has a very awkward speed tier of 86, adding the extra 4 EVs into speed really doesn't help you out too much unless you're trying to speed creep other uninvested Rotom Washes, which I guess you could do that if you're trying to, outspeed other defensive ones, but I don't see it as that big of a deal. So I threw the extra 4 EVs into special defense. You could also throw it into special attack if you wanted to, but we have Charge Beam to boost that, so I guess it's just up to personal preference on that one. As for the item, I feel like Lefties is by far the best item to carry. Obviously, you could do a Chesto Berry, but this is not supposed to be a Resto Chesto set. It's supposed to be Rest Talk, so staying asleep can actually help you in a lot of cases because it saves the PP on Hydro Pump, which only has 8 if you have all the PP ups, if you're playing in-game, that is. So anyway, Lefties is a great item because it allows you to recover HP each turn. If you're taking residual damage or whatever, if there's a sandstorm up because T-Tars come on the field, if you get some kind of status condition while you're getting your boosts, Lefties is great for that, and it allows you to survive a couple of hits that you wouldn't normally be able to survive otherwise, and I'll go into that a little bit later. Now, as for the ability, Levitate is really your only choice, and by really your only choice, I mean it's your only choice, because that's just what it is. You can't change it. Rotom Wash does not have any hidden ability or anything. Levitate it is. So now, getting into the moves, we have Charge Beam, Rest, Sleep Talk, and Hydro Pump. Pretty straightforward. We have Charge Beam which unfortunately has a 90% accuracy, and I miss it quite often. I'll be perfectly honest, I was very tempted to just add Wide Lens as the item on this thing, just because Hydro Pump and Charge Beam always miss when I need them to hit. But that's what you get for having bad luck and willingly running moves that have less than 100% accuracy. But when this set works, it works like it's just beautiful. So I guess I'm just willing to take that risk. So getting, you know, salty about it is a little bit silly, but let's be real here. Every time you miss a move in a critical situation, everyone gets salty. There's no point in denying it. All right, so we have the Charge Beam, and it has a ridiculously high chance of increasing your special attack. It's not a very powerful move, even though it does get stabbed. So after a couple of boosts, you actually can deal some nice chip damage, or possibly even more than that, depending on, you know, what you're hitting with said Charge Beam. But the main reason that it's there is to boost your special attack. Then we have Rest, which obviously will allow you to remove any status conditions, because people love to toxic Rotom Wash. They just love getting it with the status condition. And in fact, I do that myself. So if I came up against one of these, I'd probably try to either burn it or toxic it or poison it somehow, because especially the, you know, full defensive ones, whether it be specially defensive or physically defensive, they're hard to take down. They really are. They're extremely bulky. You know, they have the lefty, sometimes the resto chesto. It's just a pain in the butt. You need that passive residual damage to wear them down a lot of times. So Rest will completely cure you of that. While you're asleep, you can spam the Sleep Talk, obviously. And like I said earlier, that will save your PP on the Hydro Pumps, which is very much so necessary, because this set is meant to stay on the battlefield for a long period of time. And if you're just awake throughout the whole time, you're gonna run out of PP pretty darn fast. So Sleep Talk is essential to preserving said PP. Hydro Pump obviously is the secondary stab, and that is going to be your main attacking move with 110 base power. Unfortunately, only 80% accuracy, so you will miss it sometimes. But it's very powerful, even without any special attack investment. After you get a couple of boosts, it's going to be doing a surprising amount of damage. Now, that's really all I wanted to talk about as far as the actual set is concerned, because it's fairly straightforward. It doesn't take a ridiculous amount of skill to use. It may require some predictions when we're talking about Charge Beam, and you know, there's a lot of ground types in OU. You've got Landorus T and Gliscor and things like that to play around, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward as far as an OU set is concerned. So let's take a look at some partners. What are some things that you want to look at when you're trying to build a team that has this Rotom Wash? First of all, the thing to note is Levitate removes one of its only 2 weaknesses, because the electric water typing is really good. It's amazing, in fact. Lantern actually has the same typing, but he's still weak to ground because he doesn't have Levitate like Rotom Wash does. So you don't really have to worry about ground types too much. They're not really going to be switching in on you anyway most of the time, unless they predict an electric type move of some sort. If they think you're a standard set, they may predict a T-Bolt or a Volt Switch and try to switch in their ground types, but it's iffy. It's always an iffy switch because Hydro Pump is a distinct possibility, and a lot of ground types are also afraid of getting burned, and Will-O-Wisp is a pretty common thing on Rotom Wash, so it's iffy when it comes to ground types. But grass types are the things you really have to worry about, because grass types resist Charge Beam, they resist Hydro Pump, and, you know, a lot of their moves are going to do a butt ton of damage, if not just O-kill you. So, things like Mega Venusaur, you do not want to be staying in on. You want to get out of there, and you need something to switch into. Now, things like Scizor. I want to point out Scizor just because it quad resists Rotom Wash's only weakness. So Scizor can set up on things like Mega Venusaur, and I mean, obviously you need to scout for the HP Fire when it comes to Mega Venusaur, otherwise Scizor would be dead. But Mega Scizor can set up on a lot of things that like to come in on Rotom Wash traditionally, such as the Mega Venusaur, such as Latios, Latias, things like that. So that's great. Landorus T has great synergy when it comes to, you know, type synergy, so that's always a good partner. And the Intimidate works well. Always. Intimidate is always useful, especially in OU. Grass types also make good partners. Mega Venusaur is great because opposing Mega Venusaurs usually can't do a whole lot to it unless they pack the HP Fire, and that really isn't that, you know, affected anyway because it has Thick Fat. Ferrothorn is another good grass type to have as a partner for Rotom Wash because other grass types can't really touch it. Again, yet another Pokemon that quad resists the grass, and Ferrothorn can usually take, you know, soak up some physical hits as well. So if you have things like Mold Breaker, Excadrill, which can hit Rotom Wash with an Earthquake, you can switch in either Landorus Tier or Ferrothorn on that. Skarmory is good as well, yet another Pokemon that quad resists the grass typing, so that's always good. Now, one reason that I really like using this set in OU, kind of moving away from the partners thing here, I didn't really spend a lot of time on it, but I want to talk about some of these specific Pokemon that Rotom Wash is really good at going up against. And one is a Pokemon that is on just about every single team, possibly even more popular than Rotom Wash, if that's even possible. Talonflame. People love this bird. They love it on Battle Spot, they love it on Showdown, on the ladder, they love it. It's all over the place. You'd be hard-pressed to... I can't talk. You'd be hard-pressed to have, you know, 3 or 4 battles in a row and not see Talonflame, because it's just that common. And it's a problem, too. I know some people are like, oh, Talonflame needs to go to Ubers. It's not that powerful. There's no reason for it to be banned. It's got a 4 times weakness to rock. It's really, it can't really withstand hits that well. It's got like a base, 81 attack stat, so there's no reason for that to be going to Ubers. But it can be a problem if you're not prepared for it. If you don't have something like T-Tar to just come in and wall it, Talonflame can destroy entire teams if you give it the opportunity to, because that Brave Bird coming off the Gale Wings, the Priority, and the Choice Band, and all the things that it likes to run, the Swords Dance even, it's very powerful. Rotom Wash resists both of Talonflame's stabs, and because we are physically defensive, we can take it on very well. This Rotom is pretty much a hard stop to any Talonflame, and I'm going to give you some calcs here. We have Adamant +2 Talonflame if it's holding lefties or something that's not a boosting item. +2 after a Swords Dance and an Adamant nature, Talonflame only has an 83% chance to 3-hit KO after lefty's recovery. So you can switch in and then kill it, basically. Because, by the way, Hydro Pump has a 63% chance to OHKO 252 HP Talonflames. So as long as Talonflame does not have specially defensive investment, you're good. If you hit it with a Hydro Pump, it's dead. So you can switch in on a Brave Bird, you can take another one the turn after, and then Hydro Pump it. So that's pretty darn cool. If the Talonflame is Adamant +2 and holding a Life Orb, it only has a 6% chance to 2-hit KO Rotom Wash. So after the lefties, obviously. So that's provided that your lefties has not been knocked off for some reason. But it only a 6% chance to 2-hit KO. So chances are you're going to be able to switch in, take a hit, take another one, and then Hydro Pump it, and it's dead. Adamant Choice Band Talonflame, which is very common. That's probably the most common set that I've seen. 19% chance to 4-hit KO Rotom Wash. 4-hit KO. So you can switch in, take a hit, take another hit the turn after, have your Hydro Pump miss, take a hit the following turn, and Hydro Pump and kill it. So Talonflame is not an issue for this if it's a more defensive build. Obviously, it can try to burn you with a Will-O-Wisp, and you can just rest that off, laugh it off, basically, and kill it, and, you know, not worry about the bird anymore. So I thought that was very interesting. And that's one of the reasons why I love physically defensive Rotom, because Talonflame is a problem otherwise, unless you want to run T-Tar, or, I mean, Ferrothorn gets destroyed by a, you know, Flare Blitz. But anyway, another Pokemon that could potentially be problematic, especially for a physically defensive build, we're thinking about Greninja, because Greninja is a very common Pokemon in OU as well. It tends to run, you know, the Dark Pulse, Extra Sensory, HP Fire, what else? Hydro Pump, Ice Beam. It's got all of these coverage moves. It's got Stab on all of them. So that's kind of crazy. But Greninja is not going to be 2-hit KOing you with Dark Pulse or Extra Sensory, according to the calcs. And I'm hoping that I calc that correctly. I have to double check that before I'm just spewing nonsense all over the place. But I hope that it took Protean into account. But anyway, Dark Pulse and Extra Sensory have the same base power, which is 80. They're not going to be 2-hit KOing Rotom Wash, even though we're physically defensive. So, I mean, that should speak for itself. It really should. Rotom Wash is so incredibly bulky. It is such a good Pokemon. It's very difficult to deal with. I suggest if you're going to be bringing it to a battle, at Team Preview, you assess the threats. If you see a Grass type, you need to remove that before you get in with Rotom Wash and start setting up at all. I wouldn't even switch it in, really, unless you have to take a hit or you're going to switch in on a predicted Earthquake or something. But this Rotom has served me well. This is one that I used last gen, and I used it actually as a specially defensive set, which you could very easily do. You could switch this around and have it be, I guess it would be a calm nature with 252 HP, 252 special defense, and you'd be able to better wall things like Greninja, and you might even be able to take on certain variants of, defensive Mega Venusaur, maybe. I'm not really sure. Maybe you could take on things like Latios. I haven't really prepared that, calced that, but I like the physically defensive one just because there's so many physical threats in OU. But anyway, I'm just babbling at this point. I hope you guys enjoyed this set. I hope that if you decide to use it or tweak it or change it a little bit, I hope that it works for you. Remember, if you have a suggestion for a Pokemon you would like to see on this series in an upcoming video, feel free to leave that in the comment section below, or hit me up on Twitter and let me know what your thoughts are on that. And that is pretty much it for this time, so I will see you all for the next episode, but until then, game on.